Editing CAD flats for range planning, downloaded from WGSN, Part 1. In this tutorial we will be using Adobe Illustrator. Open up Illustrator, which is the AI file here, and you can just open a new file to begin with just to test it out. Now I suggest that we all use, up here, go to the icon at the top right, the Essentials Classic layout, so that you'll be able to find all the tools in the same places as me. It's also useful to have your tool palette, I think, like this, so if you've got it any other way, just click the double arrows so that they're all in a double setup here. Again, it will just make it easier to follow this tutorial. Now to download CAD flats, you want to go over to WGSN. Log into WGSN so that your name is at the top, if not it won't download the CADs properly, so make sure you're logged in. Then go to the Fashion section at the top. Once you're there, click Design Resources and go down to 2D CAD Library. Click on that and you'll get a huge library that turns up with nearly 80,000 results. Filter the results down to try and find something that you want. You can also add in a word here of something you might like as well. So there we go, I'm looking for a bomber jacket. Now take some time trying to find something that you like and that's specific to your range plan. Spend some time choosing something that is relevant to what you're trying to find. Then once you find something that you like, you can either go onto these three dots at the bottom and click download, or if you'd rather open it up a little bit larger, have a look at it here and you can click the download button here. Once it's downloaded, they should appear in your downloads file. So if I click here, you can see that I've got these two CADs downloaded. Now it's really important that the CADs end in .ai or .pdf, as you can see these two do. If it's a JPEG, it won't be editable. Now it's very rare that you actually download a JPEG from WGSN, but if you do, unfortunately you'll have to go and find something different. So make sure you've got the correct image here. I also advise that you start a CAD flat folder on your desktop so that you can keep them all in one place. It makes it much easier to find. I've started to put all the CADs that I've downloaded into one folder. Once you've got them, simply drag and drop it onto your Adobe Illustrator icon and you can see that it opens up here. Now if it's small like this, you could just zoom in, or you can press Command and 0 to bring it to the center of your page, and it should look something like this. So there are a few tools that we'll be using in this tutorial. The most common one is the one that I've got selected at the moment, which is the selection tool. This allows me to select on something and move it around. It selects the whole object. Another selection tool is the direct selection tool and the group selection tool. You just scroll up and down to get the correct one. I'm going to try the group selection tool, which is the little arrowhead with a plus. So if I now click off the jacket so that nothing's selected, I can now go and select on various different individual parts of my jacket. For example, I might want to remove a button or something. So that's using the group selection tool. And remember, the selection tool, which is the dark arrowhead, again just selects everything all at once. So the selection tool, everything all at once. The group selection tool allows you to select individual elements within something. Something else in Illustrator that is very useful to use from the very beginning is the number of their shortcuts. It just saves you using the menu at the top, which makes things a lot more convenient. Most of the shortcuts are accessed using one of the command buttons that are placed either side of your spacebar. You only need to use one at a time. For beginners using Adobe Illustrator, some useful shortcuts to know are Command and Z, which undoes something, so if you've done something wrong, you can step back by pressing Command and Z. Copy and pasting is also very useful. You copy by pressing Command and C, and paste by pressing Command and V. It's always useful to zoom in and out of things, and you do that by pressing Command and the plus button to zoom in, and Command and the minus button to zoom out. And again, something very, very useful to use is Command and S, which allows you to save something. So let's get started on editing this CAD flat and looking at the different elements. I'm now using the group selection tool. So you can see there's various different elements of this jacket that you can start to play with. And we want to start editing various different pieces of it. It's good to just sort of familiarise with the different areas to make sure you can select it. So I can see that there's this swatch here that's added in it, which looks a bit like corduroy, I guess. I actually want to change this to be a leather swatch. So I've gone onto Google Images earlier and searched for some leather swatches. I've now saved all those into a fabric swatch library in my CAD folder, so everything's all in one place. So I'm going to get a black leather swatch that I found earlier. Now it's come in here really huge, so I'm going to press Command and the minus key to zoom out a little bit. Now when an image has got this blue cross on it, I have to go up here and click embed, and this is what most students trip up on, so always embed an image when it's that size. I then want to shrink this image down a lot, so I'm actually going to go back to my selection tool, which is the black arrowhead. I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard to make sure that my image stays the same size, so you can see it keeps scaled. If I don't hold scale, you can see it squishes the image, which makes it look really untidy. So if I press Command Z, I'm using the Shift button going in and out, and I let go of my mouse before letting go of Shift so that it doesn't bounce back. So if I zoom in a little bit now, I want to just make sure the leather looks like the same kind of texture I'd expect it to be in scale on my jacket. So I'm going to shrink it down to about that size. At this point I want to grab my swatch and place it into my swatch palette. So if you haven't got your swatch palette up, you will find it by going to Window and Swatches, or you might just have to search for it and make sure you bring it to the front. So I've dragged and dropped it in and it's just here. I'm now going back to find my selection tool, the group selection tool, the arrowhead with the plus. I'm going to select this swatch here, and I want to change all these areas with that swatch in to be leather. Now I could do this just individually by selecting the different areas, or I could simply select one of these areas and go to Select, Same, Fill Colour here on my menu, and it's going to select all the areas that have got that colour in it. Then I'm going to select my leather, and it's nicely filled in all of those areas. Now there's some areas here that haven't got it in, so I can just go and zoom in a little bit further and find those white areas. So again, all those white areas, I'm now going to go to do the same, select, same, fill colour, and add in the black swatch. Now it might be for the lining that I simply just want to add some flat colour, and I might be happy with that. Or I might perhaps want to go and find another swatch. So I've got some pattern swatches here. I've got a nice check here that maybe I might want to put that in. So again, it's come on really huge as I've dragged and dropped it onto my page. So first of all, I'm going to go back to my selection tool and click embed. Hold down Shift and shrink it down a lot. Now I'm zooming in a little bit. And again, trying to find it the size that I would like it to be. Perhaps something like that. So I'm now going to place that again into my swatch palette. Then I can move that to the side. I can actually delete these swatches now because they're saved in here, and if I ever need them again I can actually just pull them out. So I'm getting my group selection tool again, selecting the lining here, and now I'm going to get my check. Now it might be that with the pockets I don't want the check, I perhaps just want a red colour from in here. So now what I might want to do is get this tool, which is the eyedropper tool, and it will just select the red in there. So I just want the plain red rather than the whole swatch. So I'm going to get that red. It's found that red. I might want to find the black or the white, but red seems most sensible for this one. I'm going to drag that red into my colour palette now. So it's just a plain red colour. And I might just want to fill my pockets, making sure I get the right area. So it's always good to zoom in, because you can sometimes, if you don't zoom in enough, get the wrong part. Now as I've zoomed in, you can see there's also stitches on here too. Now I'm quite happy with my stitches being black, but it might be that I want them to be red. So if I go to select same, and this is a stroke, so I could go to same stroke colour. Now that's selected too many pieces, so I'm not actually happy with that. So what I might want to do here, because if I did all that, it's going to make every black line on here. I might just want to do that individually. So I might just want to drag that swatch onto there and do some individual bits. Perhaps just those bits there, perhaps. I can also see up here that there's some little areas and things that I might want to also do as a highlight. So it could be something as simple as that. I might now look at the buttons and decide, well actually perhaps I'd like those to be red, Now I could do those all individually, or another way I could do it is hold down Shift and select each one with the group selection tool. And maybe I want to make those grey or green or perhaps that red colour again. And we can keep it like that. Another thing I might want to do is add some badges on. So I've actually downloaded some woven badges earlier on. Now these have got white backgrounds on. They're things that I've found in on Amazon and on Google. So you can see if I drag and drop them on, click embed again, they don't look quite right because they've got a big white square box around them and I just want them to look like a badge. So at this stage I might take my badge into Photoshop. So what I want to do here is get my selection tool, which is, I'm going to use the magic wand tool here because I know it's just a plain white background. As I click on it, I can just press delete and you can see I've now got a checkerboard background on here. That means that it's going to be transparent. What I want to do is save that as a PNG. Now this already is a PNG, so I don't need to change the format, but if it's a JPEG or something else, you would just go onto the drop down menu here, find PNG and press save. It's asking me to replace it because it already was a PNG. So now if I go back to my board here and find the lips again, the woven badge, and bring it in, you can see now I've lost that white background. So again, it's got a blue cross on it, so I want to click embed. And I'm just going to put that onto my coat just here. Now I might actually want to change the angle of it. So you can see as I'm creeping closer to that edge, it's coming up with a little arrow tool. Now if I hold that, it will let me just sort of rotate the image to the position that I like. And again, I'm using the selection tool, but actually either one of those would work for this. So I'm going to go and do that the same with my other one. So I've got a bare one here. I'm going to pop that into here. Get the selection, the magic wand tool, because it's just a white background. It's always easier to find things with white backgrounds. Click delete. I'm going to save it because it's already a PNG. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to place the bear on here too. So again, I can embed because it's got the blue cross on it. And I might decide that I want to place the bear on here too. Again, I'm holding shift. If I don't hold down shift, you can see it distorts it and then you can never quite get it back to how it was. So you really want to make sure you're holding down shift and you let go of the mouse tool before you let go of the shift tool. Let's do it one more time with this aviation badge. So again, I'm deleting the background, making sure it's saved as a PNG. It has to be a PNG, otherwise it won't save the transparent background. Embed it with the blue cross. I think I came off the scale there. And place it. Now it might be that you think, oh actually I want that bear to be in front, so we can organise that by going to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Might be the same that we want to do with this one, so perhaps we want to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Or we might want to play around with their positions and things. So that's one way that we can edit using a swatch and some colour and some badges and PNGs. Now the next important thing to do here is save this. Now if I just click save, it's going to write over the original black and white or black and grey CAD image that I had. So the best thing to do is go to Save As, which is File, Save As, just like you would with any other document anywhere. And the best thing to do is just to add a name. So I'm just going to put an underscore here and call it the leather jacket. So then it will save another one just next to that. Now the other thing is that the other version I might want to save, if I wanted to put this into Canva or something, it won't accept an AI file. So I also want to make it like a flat image, which I won't be able to edit as well. So the best way to do that is go to File, Export, Export as a PNG, and that will keep the transparent background as well. So I'm going to allow it to do a PNG, and then if I go to my CAD file, so I can see that I've got my original one from WGSN now. I've got my other AI file which I can go back and continue editing if I wish. And then I've got the PNG file here, which is a flattened image and much smaller in size. You can see it's only 233 kilobytes here, so it's very, very small. So I could put that into PowerPoint now, Canva or InDesign or somewhere as well. So let's imagine now that I really want to go and maybe make a second version of this in denim. I know I've got my original saved one and I've created a flat one and I've got the original. So I'm going to go back, find my original one here, bring it into Illustrator and start the process again. So I'm pressing Command and 0 to bring it to the very start again, to make it into the full page version. This time I think I'm going to use some denim and make it look a bit kind of vintage. So if I go to my fabric swatches, you can see I've got a denim swatch here. Now I might actually want to edit that denim, and I'm going to show you quickly how you can do that in Photoshop. So if I just drag and drop this into Photoshop, I'm going to press 0 so you can see it again. I can change some of this by going to adjustments. I'm going to go to brightness and contrast, and I can make it a lighter denim or a darker denim if I really want. I'm going to go slightly lighter here, and I can play with the contrast a bit here too. I'm just going to go to about there. And again, I'll go to Save As, and I'll save this as an edited one. So I'll call it Wash Denim 2, and I can sort of see what the difference is and see which one I like the most. And I'm going to save that as a JPEG in this instance. So now I'm going back to Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to go to Find and find those two swatches. So I've got this one. You can see how it's slightly different from the original one. I think I'll pull them both into to Illustrator and see what I like. So I'm going to hold down Shift and select them both and drag and drop them into Illustrator. Now they're really large here and they're also on top of each other. So I'm going to click Embed to get rid of that blue cross, and you can see now if I select, you can see they're both there. I'm going to make them much, much smaller, holding down Shift. I can do both of them at the same time. And that feels about right. So let's pull each of those into the swatches. So you can see they're both now here. I'm going to go back and get my group selection tool and select the area. Remember, you can go to Select, Same, Fill Colour, and it's automatically now selected all those areas. And I can try it in either of those denims and see which one I like best. Maybe I'll go for that slightly darker one. Now it might be that the cuffs I just want to make a slight blue colour, so actually I'm going to pull that swatch out again, and I'm going to go back to my eyedropper tool, which is found under here, and just select some of the colours on there and pull them in. That blue looks quite nice. I might want to try and find it slightly lighter or darker perhaps. You can see it's changing in here all the time. So there's a couple of different swatches. Now the best thing to do is really zoom in here because I can select the wrong area, and I might want to add that light blue to this area here. Oh, you can see there I've selected something wrong, so I just click on it again until I get the right area. Again, it might be better just to zoom in even further and do all those individual different little pieces there. I could try select all the same colour, but there might be some other colours within there, which sometimes isn't always convenient. So here we go, that's the last bit there. And there we go, I've got a nice washed denim. But I might want to change the lining from the grey. So I've actually, if I go back to my pattern swatches, I found a nice ditzy floral, vintage looking floral. Again, I just found it from Google. That's really huge. So I'm zooming all the way out, and I'm just going to take in, holding Shift, the corner to make it a lot smaller. If I zoom back in, I can sort of check to see if I like the scale. I'm going to make it a bit smaller again. Now it's got that blue cross over it, so I click Embed. If not, it won't allow me to put it into the swatches. You see I've popped it into the swatches. I'm going to delete it now and go back and get my group selection tool and select that grey there, and then find my swatch. It's always important that you make sure that the swatch is at the front. If I tried to do that the wrong way round actually and put the swatch into the stroke, you won't see it. So if that happens, you can't see your swatch. Usually the error is you've just not filled the fill. So that's really important that you put the fill in that area there. Now I might just want to, for the pockets, and maybe I don't particularly want to put in that ditzy floral there. I might actually want to put my darker swatch in there. Perhaps that might look a bit nicer there. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Might be that, you know what, I might want to change the colour of the cuffs and things. What you can also do, it's always best to look, you can see it's trying to select those black areas. You can also go to Windows, swatch library, colour books, and find colours here. I always go to coated here, for example, and you'll see there'll be a whole host of colours come up. So there's a nice colour library there. You might want to try some different colours. Perhaps I might want to even find like a peach or a pink or something. Again, just sort of having a play around till I find something that I like. So another way of finding colours there, which is useful. So that's from swatches. So another thing I could do is give this a bit of a vintage look, a bit like some washed denim. So I'm going to get my pencil tool. Now when there's red line through here, it means there's no fill and no outline. So essentially you're drawing something invisible. I'm going to make sure that the fill is white. So here we go, I've got a white fill and no outline. And I'm just going to draw like a random shape around here like this. So it's just kind of a long oval shape. Again, well, it's just gone back to invisible. So I'm just putting my white back in. So I've got a white here. Now what I can do is go to transparency. To get transparency, you can find it on your menu here, or it might already be out. I'm just going to reduce the transparency a bit so it gives like a washed look. Now if I come off this, you can see it's obviously quite a severe outline. What I can go to is Effect, Stylize, and something called Feather. You can see already here it's softened it, and I can increase the amount that it feathers. I'm going to do 3mm here. It just really depends on your CAD. And you can see there it's just given a bit of a vintage sort of washed look. If I just move it to the side, you can see what it does and bring it back. So what I can do here is copy this. So I've pressed Command C, or you can go to Edit and Copy the long way. I'm going to do Command C, and then I'm going to do Command F, which is placing it right on top. And then I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect. So it's going to do the same thing, do it vertically, and then hold down Shift so it pulls it right over to the other side. So I've got the same thing on the other side. So if I just move, you can see them selected there, on both on the same side, giving that slightly washed feel. I might want to also add that sort of same kind of thing on the arms. So I could just use the eyedropper tool and do the same thing and apply the feather again. Maybe the feather's a bit too much here, so I can go to the appearance here, select the feather, and maybe just drop it down. There we go, 2 looks nice. So again, I can copy and paste that right on top. So Command C and Command F has done another one on top. Object, Transform and Reflect, and pull that over there, giving like a little bit of a vintage feel here. Now another thing I could do is add maybe a placement print. I searched it on the internet earlier and found some placement prints. I've got this floral. You can see it's got a white background. I'm going to bring that into Photoshop to begin with. And I'm going to use the magic wand tool. Again, you could do more complicated things with Photoshop, but white backgrounds tend to work easier as a beginner. So I'm just clicking delete, but you can see there's some areas in here that I just need to do the same thing, clicking delete till I've got that checkered background. Click deselect, then I'm going to save that as a PNG. And now if I go back to finding it and try and drag that into here, it's really big, so I'm just going to make it smaller. Remember, zoom in and out. Make sure that blue cross is removed, pressing embed, and I'm going to place that on top of here. Now it might be a bit too severe like that, so again what I could do is increase the transparency to make it look more vintage, and I could play with where that might want to be placed. So it also, because it's sitting in the front of the pocket and I want it behind, I can copy it and delete it. I'm going to get my selection tool and select the piece of material behind the pocket. You can see it's just behind the pocket. And then if I press Command and F, it's going to paste it directly on there. So you can see now that sits behind the pocket. So originally it was sitting, if I show you, above the pocket. And now I click the back and press Command F, it's gone to the back. So it sort of looks like it's there behind the pocket, which looks nice. Now I might also want to perhaps have the same kind of thing, but perhaps coming out of the top of the arm. Now obviously I don't want it over there, over the back, so what I'm going to do is find this area here. So I've just gone to my group selection tool. I'm going to copy that and then paste on top, so Command F, so you can see it's brought that piece to the front now. So what I'm going to do is get this to now crop in here. It's called a clipping mask, so I'm going to make sure this piece is selected. You can see it's already selected here with the blue. I'm going to hold down Shift and select that image. Then I press Command and 7, or you can go to Object, Make Clipping Mask, which is the long way. You can see it's Command 7 there. And you can see it's cropped it in. Now again, I'm just going to make sure that I paste it at the back. So I'm going to copy all that and delete it. Select that back piece of material and Command F and make sure it's there. So there, that also is clipped in there as well. So I could now also look for some vintage floral badges. So maybe I'll go back to Google and have a look. So I'm on Google. I'm going to have a look for some vintage floral woven badges. So having a look here, so again, remember anything with white backgrounds is always quite good to try and use. It just means that it's a lot more kind of easier to find things. I quite like this one here. So what I'm going to do is create a screen grab, which I do by doing Shift Command and number 4, and you can see this little icon comes up, and it will create a screen grab of that, which will also be a PNG. So I can see that's now on my desktop here. I'm just going to go and put it into my woven badge file and give it a new name. So I'll call it Blue Floral Badge. And then obviously it's got this white background, so I just want to go and take that off in Photoshop. So again, taking the tool, pressing delete, it's already a PNG screen grab, so I'm just going to press save. And now I'm going to drag and drop that onto my jacket. Maybe that might look nice, putting a few bits up here like that. So again, once I want to get to the end, I want to save it as an AI, so I can always come back to it. I'm going to call it denim jacket this time. And that means I've also still got that grey one that exists back here that was the original case. I want to do another one, and I'm making sure it's an Adobe Illustrator file. So hopefully this tutorial has helped you understand how you download and edit CAD flats in Illustrator with the use of some Photoshop tools as well. Have a go now at trying to create and edit some of your own downloaded CAD flats from WGSM.